But it all comes down to this, the final race of the season, where tonight we will crown the champion of the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan's Oval Series season number 9. It really comes down to two drivers of Marcus Byfeld and Jonas Gunnarsson here at Homestead, Miami, the faithful home of the finale. And it is going to be a really tight battle out there. Only 15 points between them. And if you include all the extra bonus points, we're looking at over 50 points available here tonight. So a lot can change with 25 drivers entering the circuit for the final race of the season. Is the Beijer Building Materials 333. It's myself, Cam Roger, and Jake Sperry, with Lorenzo Bonda doing the production of this RaceSpotTV broadcast. And we can't wait to work out all the numbers as the race goes through the day. But we enter this race, the final race of the season, with some brilliant news that Bohlin's, our title sponsor, is going to continue for another season, which is looking to start in September of this year. So we'll have a couple of months break over the summer, and then we'll go back for probably another 9 months of racing in the autumn. And really great to have Bohlin's joining us for, I believe, the 4th year in a row that will be. And they've been a great partner, allowing us to come and have such a broadcast here tonight. Here's where we've been so far throughout the season. We started at Nashville, Auto Club, Richmond, Echo Park. And then from then onwards, it really was a different change to the season. The first 3 races were won by Marcus Byfeld, but since then, Jonas Gunnarsson has been outscoring him and slowly catching up through New Hampshire, Kansas, Bristol, Talladega. A couple of weeks ago, Gunnarsson finally able to get his first race victory of the season. And now, here at Homestead, Miami, we're here to end the season with just a 15-point gap. Here's the numbers: 371 for Byfeld and 356 for Jonas Gunnarsson. Gunnarsson's second title here in the Oval Series. Be Marcus's first, but he's coming off the back of winning the road course season just 1 week ago. We've got some really tight battles up and down the field. We've got some joint scores as well. If you look in 16th, 17th place, Lundberg and Skoglund there on 222. And even inside the top 10, we've got Helmbro and Hagman just a couple of points apart. So a lot to look out for over the course of this season. And we can't really wait to get going as the qualifying session is going out there. And Jake, of course, you join us for a couple of rounds this season, but this is the most important one here for the final race of the season.
It is, and last race vibes. It's a case of you got to leave everything on the table because you got nothing afterwards to go and put yourself together. Homestead, Miami, with the 18 to 20 degrees worth of banking that is around this circuit. It's one of the faster circuits out there on the NASCAR calendar, but also one of the more pliable ones. This was normally the home of championship finales out there in Miami-Dade County. I tell you what, the Beijer Big Material 333 in the 305, gotta love it.
That is certainly a lot of numbers out there, and the numbers are such. The 105 and the 33, your two championship rivals, are currently sitting on the front row of the grid. What a grandstand finish this could be here today, as we have just 20 seconds remaining. A lot of drivers down pit road as they've already completed their allocated laps. A few more drivers out there, such as Oliver Bohlin. He's currently up in 3rd position. Linus Broström jumps to 5th there. That is important, but Bohlin comes down pit road, so it looks like everyone at the front is pretty well sorted. We see a couple of drivers such as Skoglund and Stiller not setting laps, so they'll be starting from the back. And even Alex Aronson, he's down there towards the back of the field, the slowest of the drivers setting laps. That's a bit unusual for a driver who has had quite a few difficulties this season. Unfortunately, let's see how he can end this season. Here's your starting grid. The two championship rivals. Marcus Byfeld going for his first oval title there, and Gunnarsson going for his second from 2nd position. Bohlin and Uvinen on the 2nd row, with Linus Broström and Dan Holmer rounding out the top 6. And this is going to be so close with those championship rivals just half a tenth apart at the front. Helmbro, Jo Wallen. We got Hagman and Leppitz inside the top 10. Kjellberg and Håkenschott there in the top 12. Of course, Jo Wallen, a race winner this season. Lars Bulker there in P13 with Robert Erling in 14th. Oscar Fredriksson, he was so aggressive last time out. Did cause a couple of incidents, but let's see what he can do from P15. Forsberg there in 16th place. Bjorn Broström in 17th. And Kenneth Tier for Polski Aviation is there in 18th place. Eric Lundberg is in 19th with Gyros Aronson rounding out the drivers setting laps. And then, as I mentioned, Skoglund still not setting laps. There's actually going to be 23 cars, I should say, going to the end of this race. But what that means, Jake, is we got a 15-point gap. There's 5 points between first and second. So, and then obviously another 10. So it's really looking to be anywhere inside the top 11 is going to be enough for Marcus Byfeld already.
But here's the crucial thing. You can't guarantee a top 11 position. Even if you do qualify the car on the inside of the front row, it just gives you the best chance to make it happen rather than the worst chance. 88 degrees Fahrenheit is the track temperature, and an in-sim time that has just ticked over 3 o'clock in the afternoon. All the threes out there today to go and deal with, and we're going to tiptoe over as we run through. Now, critically, very windy out there today. It's a 22 kilometer an hour, 14 mile an hour wind that is coming in from the Atlantic across. So what that's going to mean for the circuit is you are going to get a cross tailwind along the main straight and a cross headwind across the backstretch. So that's going to be worth noting, that everyone is going to be pretty much tiptoeing themselves around trying to make this work. But when you're trying to run in oval spec, the first 10 laps are your finding out period, and you hope that this one isn't going to turn into a yellow fest out there today. There are no fast repairs, so if they break it early, they know there's no way back on a circuit that, believe it or not, used to be a 4-turn, mile-and-a-half oval, very similar to Indianapolis.
Yeah, when I learned that, when I was doing the research, when we came to Homestead a couple years ago for the final last time, I was very surprised by that. But I love the changes that they've made. Certainly a fan favourite, and that is why we've come here. 138 laps, stage on lap 60. Fuel is going to go just a bit more than 50 laps. So if we get some long runs at the beginning, we might see a lot of fuel saving for the drivers to try and get to that stage. But they do have 4 sets of tyres, so 3 extra pit stops they can make, including the ones they are starting the race. But it's final race of the season time. The Beijer Building Materials 333 and the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan Oval Series is about to crown another champion. Will it be Byfeld from pole or Gunnarsson from second place? We get underway here in Homestead, Miami, and it's a solid start from the front pair. It's going to be Byfeld leading the way on the inside line.
I tell you what, I was really enjoying Jonas Gunnarsson there, and the way that he jumped, that low line works very nicely to begin with. So it sets it up that Oliver Bohlin now moves up then into second position and decides he's going to be the one who's looking around at this and saying, I'm going to give it. But you can run the outside line. It does hold, and it does hold well as you start to try and build a line up in the early stages. Byfeld's got what he wants, which is a bit of peace at the front of the field, but it's still all about settling off a couple of 2 wides, because you've got Kjellberg and Fredriksson, for example, going out there and washing out a little bit up on the high side. Then is Daniel Holmer still scrapping out then for second as they head to 3 and 4.
Yeah, he doesn't want to let this one go, does he? Oliver Bohlin to the inside. He's getting right up the back of Byfeld. So on the outside, the 33 goes to try and take the lead. As you say, the mid-high line does work around this track, but he's got to hold it then. When we get down to turn number 1, he's going to lead a lap across the stripe as well. And this is important, that Byfeld is not getting away at the front. And 33, if he can get his nose down, is going to hold the lead.
Go all the way up to the wall then from Bohlin as Byfeld now starts to drop back into third position. You've got to try and settle up. Now a little look for fourth place right now as Linus Broström to the inside of Tony Uvinen. Fourth position, big high line. Look at that. Trying to get a little bit of draft off the wall, and it works. An absolute treat up there. Taking a Richmond line is Oliver Bohlin, and that gets him to the race lead, and with a good margin of about 3 car lengths as he works himself down back to the bottom of the circuit here into 1 and 2.
And this is interesting. Byfeld, once again, is being very calm. We've seen this quite a few times this season. When in the stage, he's not doing anything too crazy. He's allowing anyone who wants to be aggressive to get to the front, and he's just going to keep it in. We have 10 points given out at the stage, though. So with only a 15-point gap between Gunnarsson and Byfeld, Byfeld basically needs to make sure that he's on the bumper of Gunnarsson at least, follow him round and not get into a situation like we've seen a couple of times where Gunnarsson gains 6, 7, 8 points in a stage. That could be quite crucial for his championship.
And something that's also crucial is who can move up. Fastest driver in practice was Alexander Haraldsson, and he's already up 10 places in the first 5 laps, and there's 3 wide with him at the moment as they work through. So that's going to be big, and there's a check-up, push up the circuit there for Lars Bolke and for Johannes Leppit, who ends up losing out then for that. The uber aggressiveness of Alexander Haraldsson, that's a quick way to lose friends.
Wow, that could have been a big 3-car pile-up going through turns 3 and 4, but they were able to save that well. Unfortunately, Leppit, who is a podium finisher this season, has dropped back a good couple of positions. Byfeld's actually gone down another position. Linus Broström is trying to follow through. He's a teammate of Oliver Bohlin, who's currently leading this race, and Broström coming through. So Polski Logistics, they're trying to beat Street Trends in the Teams Championship, and this would go a good way for that, as Byfeld is really one of the drivers carrying that, with teammates such as Christopher Giros down in 17th place.
Yeah, so Giros hasn't really got the pace in the early stages. He's going to need a bit of help to get there, but they will note that as it goes, this is a race that will develop, and drivers will chop and change with the various strategies they'll have available. The fuel saving, the tyre sets that they've got available to them, and the moves that's there. Haraldsson is on an absolute charge. Already up to 6th from 21st. It's only taken him 7 laps to get through 2/3 of the field, as we've got a bit of side-by-side here off the exit of 4 with Leppit and Håkan Schurt there, who is trying to keep himself into play. Eric Lundberg and Kenneth Tier just sit behind and want to bring themselves in slowly but surely here into this. It's not a marathon, it's not a sprint, it will be a marathon, but with those points coming at about 40% along, it's going to create this stick or twist mentality depending on where you are in the early goings.
And this is very important for the likes of Alex Haraldsson in terms of the championship, because he's 7 points behind Dan Holmer, and now he's a couple of places ahead. So this is good. Haraldsson did not have the start to the season that he would have wanted. He missed a race, then he had various struggles. He's currently sitting in 5th place, but he would be very good to jump up the championship, because his drop round is already that race that he didn't show up. So every single point that he gets tonight will count towards his championship charge, or at least for the top 4 in the championship. Here we're seeing the 18, that's Lundberg. Always a bit of contact up ahead though. Leppit and Håkan Schurt on the inside of turns 3 and 4. Bit of door-to-door contact. Lundberg might like that one to come up the inside and try and make his way down the front straight.
He'd love a bit of drive, but ultimately the arrow's taken off of him there by Håkan Schurt, and he'll lose one then outright to Lundberg, who gets through. Broström, by the way, now up into 2nd position, so it's a Polski 1-2, and they're just able to use the tyres better here on the first part of the run. I wonder whether they're using it too much. Haraldsson past Byfeldt, that's a change for 4th, as there is the 84, and on screen working hard for placement at the moment. This is Tony Uvinen, who's looking behind Joel Bohlin and Lars Bolke, who is trying to go through. So the 372 of Bolke to the inside is going to try and get this drive on the low line. You can run the middle, but if you all run the bottom, which they are doing at the moment, there will come a point where the bottom just becomes too rubbered up and everyone starts walking up the circuit. Great drive there by Joel Bohlin. Oh, cuts up in under on Uvinen and gets to the inside, side by side for your lead.
Yeah, beautiful. This is Joe Bohlin, the winner of the Kansas race back in March. Up the inside, making it stick. 6th position down the front straightaway, though. That's a huge run on the outside from the 84, showing what coming off the high bank does on the high line around here. Is going to be 3 wide as Bolke tries to use that to good effect as well. So the 84 is going to actually have to go high to cover that one off. So Bolke comes back down low, uses the momentum well, and will have the inside down into turn number 3. That's great up and under work there from Bolke. Went so high in turn 1, and now he has a position in turn 3.
Yeah, and you're going up at about 180 miles an hour as you tiptoe into 3 and 4. Look to get the rotation through the middle down to about 240, 230. Very long turn of engagement as you get to the middle of 1 and the beginning of 2. So you really are trying to set down Dan Holmer, looking to try and get himself into placement, and does so with a comfortable pass through the corner, so he doesn't have to worry out of 2 as Uvinen now starts to go backwards. Peter Helmbro is going to think about it, but ultimately is covered off on a defensive line, so that's going to have to stay as it is. But it is just as busy as you like. It's 4 clear at the front. Bohlin, Broström, Gunnarsson and Haraldsson. Byfeld is at risk of falling backwards into the clutches of Joel Bohlin and Lars Bulky here, with Daniel Holmer just sitting back there saying, look, I want to get in and involved. Speaking of in and involved, it's on for second now. Jonas Gunnarsson starting to now pick up a little bit of momentum and rotation here on lap 14. He's built a car that's very good once it settles in for the run, and that's going to be worth noting. The 72 and the 71, he gets by low side searching in towards 3 and 4, and ultimately, I think he's looking around at this saying, well, you can be really good on the short runs. I'm going to play long ball, and long ball's working for me.
Yeah, this is an interesting one with Polsky. They went out fast. They got the 1-2. Ayrton's come up 17 places to get into 4th position. I say fast in practice, so obviously they've done the practice and they're feeling good. The up and under from Linus Broström is going to retake that 2nd position down this bracket straight away, depending on what 33 does. No, he goes deep into the corner to hold that one, but they are going aggressive, and I guess there's 2 ways. Either you go aggressive, you'll definitely pit before the stage. You'll probably pit early. You'll try and go to the back of the line, so then you file to the front during the stage caution. That is one way of doing it, but potentially you're going to lose out on those stage points. Whereas for the likes of Gunnarsson, he needs to go long. He needs to try and get these stage points because they'll be so crucial in his championship charge. So definitely a couple of different ways of doing it, although it looks like Byfeld is staying with Aronson just about, so they're not completely pulling away, but definitely a little pack forming.
Well, I'd argue that as they sit, if you're thinking about the long game, you've got to get the big points. Little points help. It's a case of you'll get a little bit, but you need the full Monty out there on top. And I think that's what you're trying to understand. It's not just what do I get to this halfway stage or the stage points out there around lap 60. It's what can I do as we take a look picture in picture. The race on for 3rd position and a lot of strong side-by-side between Fredriksson and Lundberg in the bottom right corner of your screen here. They'll go to 2 and 2 because Tier and Shirt are then together and hoping that they've got a little bit of momentum push into 3 and 4 once again. And Lundberg here is setting down, but Fredriksson with a pinch and a bit of contact is going to force a little bit of a waver out there, as now here comes Byfeld now starting to stretch back in. Haraldsson maybe has pushed a little bit too hard on the tyres to begin with.
This is interesting how it's yo-yoing a little bit. Maybe it's just Byfeld just realizing that he's got a little bit more speed in the car at this point. They are keeping a nice gap to Lars Bulke behind. It is a raceable track though. You don't necessarily lose loads of time by going side by side because there's loads of space and the high line works. Always Gunnarsson goes to the lead. The 33 has taken that opportunity to get to the front. He's seen Byfeld coming, but unfortunately, he's on the inside line, so he loses a bit of momentum on the straight. As you're going to see the difference in the line, 1 up on the wall, 1 down by the apron. What is going to work? I think it might just be Gunnarsson for now, but when we see this momentum come back on the back straight, is the 72 going to get the run? He's going to have to be a bit of a block from the 33. He doesn't do that, and the door stays open.
Well, it was tough there for Oliver Bohlin. He got so high up on the wall, he almost started scraping it, and so ultimately he sits there with Jonas Gunnarsson and thinks, right, I've scraped against the wall almost. I have to be dealing with understeer, or what we would call a car being tight out there, and try and loosen it off maybe through the run as he tries to go. The more the tyres start to let away, the more tight sometimes the car can be, but then you're always trying to put the power down, and that loosens up the rear if you're not careful. So there's a lot of different philosophy that goes into it, but you're just going to have to settle down, take your medicine in the early stages, and hope to find a way back forward. But Bohlin here, I think, is driving a very nice, accomplished race. And Gunnarsson took a couple laps to get into position, but once he has, I think he's very happy with what he's able to do. But Byfeld is now starting to get a little bit busy for 3rd because Linus Broström suddenly can't quite get this one to hook up the same way as he did before, trying to run the middle line out there and hope that it works. And ultimately, he's going to find himself very firmly 4th.
This is an interesting one if you're thinking about tyres. Byfeld going a bit soft for the first 10 laps or so. and now it's coming back and helping. I mean, we're only a third of the way into the run. Potentially, we're going to see a 60-lap run here, so we'll have to see how that one works out in terms of anyone pushing their tyres. This car is notorious to be a bit of a tyre killer in this series. Broström does not hold up his teammate of Aracingligan, who is continuing his charge, still up 17 positions from the start. Byfeld is coming, though, and he's looking good. He's got that 15-point cushion over Gunnarsson, so even if he's a couple of points back like this in the stage, he'll have 13 points going later on, but then actually he did get the pole position as well, so that goes back to 15 points. So he's looking very, very strong and solid. They're both led laps, so the only extra bonus point that could change it is the fastest lap for a couple of points, or most laps led.
And so there is the emphasis that if you're out in front, you got to stay out in front. And it means that if you're leading, you got to try and elongate the stint as much as you can until everybody else behind you creates the cycle if you want to guarantee most laps led out there for whichever reason that you see fit. It has fallen now to single file across the entire category now at this point, so they are settling down into a rhythm here and trying to work a bit of side-by-side back with Kenneth Tier and Johannes Leppit, but nothing too much more except that. So as far as it goes now, they know they've run out the first 25 laps really, really effectively here with only tiny bits of contact between them. So they know now that as far as it goes, they should be locked in towards the stage, but it will depend on whose tyres start going and if anybody decides they want to make a pit stop and sacrifice the track position.
Yeah, I'd love to see someone go a bit crazy and pit early, because we do need quite a few laps extra. I mean, potentially some are going to be stretching it out 9 laps if you include... It's not just lap 60 they have to get to, they then have to go around lap 61 and then get in as well. So potentially there's going to be 9 laps that some of these drivers are saving, which is going to be a good 20% almost of fuel. Now, it is a sort of a type of track where you can do it. There's a lot of waiting time in the mid part of the corner, and lifting off a bit going into it's not going to hurt you too much. But with the pace that we're seeing at the front, pulling away from the mid-pack, it's not like they're super saving.
No, I don't think they have the option to super save at this moment. The gaps are still very much in manageable realms, as our focus here is with Kenneth Tier, Johannes Leppit and Christopher Geros. They're just behind, and pushing up for a move then up on the high side is Dante Forsberg, who is trying to get by Håkan Schert and isn't going to manage that there through 1 and 2. But you're going to see a little bit of movement out there. Drivers are going to experiment with lines, try and get out of the dirty air or the wake, which puts a lot of emphasis on the front tyres, creates scrubbing, and basically makes the tyres just look very, very nasty by the time they come off the cars. So I think they'll be staring down that and thinking, okay, that's something that is worth just keeping the back of the mind, hoping that we don't get involved. But you do make a very good point there in the sense that there are going to be opportunities for strategies to work, but it's going to be pretty much, I think, consensus early goings, and consensus will then soon turn to something else. As I'm just going to note now, that gap out for the lead is almost 9/10 of a second, and Oliver Bohlin is under pressure from Marcus Byfeld right now, and he really wants to get back to second place.
Oh, this is interesting. He cooled down and then he's coming back, and he has the pace. The fact that they're pulling away from Aracingligan and Broström makes me wonder that he's got a bit more pace left in the locker than some others. Gunnarsson can do no more than get as many points as he can. He's got to win the stage and he's got to win the race. So that is the important factor that he can. We have, as I said, the extra points is actually 1 point for fastest lap and 2 for the most laps led is what is up for grabs. So there's still 63 points available for these drivers out there on the circuit right now before the end of the race. So far, Gunnarsson will be getting the most laps led, but of course, we still got over 100 laps left to go to work this one out. So it's going to be a tight one, potentially on points. If any of these have a big accident, it could change very quickly. One thing that I am seeing, Jake, is that the sun is going down fairly rapidly, which is going to cool the track off quite a bit and change the track over the next 100 laps.
Well, in-sim date is November 15th, so this is going to be a sun that is going to set very quickly. It will take a couple hours for it to drop in its entirety, but to note that at the moment, it means that we're in a situation where this track, which is 33 degrees Celsius right now, is going to cool, and it is going to cool a lot. So it is going to make a lot then to go through. Byfeld getting a good run out of 2. It stalls slightly, so with that late engagement into the corner, you can be half a line off here as you watch right now with Bohlin, and he can just take the turn a little bit easier as he works through that narrower line taken by Marcus Byfeld. Is going to induce more scrubbing, so the longer that these runs go, expect a more rounded corner through 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, so it's going to leave less problems out there as you push on through.
It's an amazing racetrack for that, where you're able to move the car around quite a bit. There's some variability, variables I should say, with the drivers here. There's certain tracks, I'm trying to remember throughout the season, especially New Hampshire, but I guess it's a flat track, but there was not much that the drivers could do. You could sort of hold a certain line and defend, whereas here, inside, outside, doesn't matter. There's a bit of a wiggle there, as we're going to see this potentially swap around for second place. Byfeld to the inside, he's going to take advantage of that and get back to second position. He dropped down to 5th at one point, but he's looking strong as we get halfway through this first stage, and he's back into second place. Bohlin does not even try to stay close during turn 2. He's got the momentum down the back straight. Byfeld has this one covered on the inside line. He dives deep into that corner as well to try and get 2-3 car lengths ahead, and that should be enough to cover off the 72 now.
Bulky running backwards as well. Peter Helmbro gets through along with Daniel Holmer, so that puts him back now into 8th place with that change up that has just gone about. So Holmer is the one on the charge at the moment. He'll be eyeing up then the likes then of the driver in 5th, Linus Broström, as the next driver. Jonas Skoglund, by the way, letting through Bjorn Broström for a position. So there are scraps going on, as well as including Schert and Forsberg, who haven't given up on their scraps out there either. So everywhere you look, there's a bit of something to go. Staying halfway off the line there is Helmbro, who is really trying to get to 77. And there is your first taker in. And it's Linus Broström on lap 33. That is very early.
I mean, there's an early stop and there's an early stop. That is commitment. They have seen the races spread out. Caution is unlikely, but this is a very interesting one, because this means he's also not going to have a spare set of tyres towards the end of the race, because he's going to have to use his second set now, another set at the stage caution, and then one to get to the end from there. So he's locking in his strategy. He's committing to it early. Let's see how this one works out for him. But the 71 was struggling there, Jake, and I guess it's the best idea rather than going backwards in the pack.
Yeah, it's be aggressive, and then when the stops come in, you've undercut everybody else, because now into the pits goes Alexander Aroldsson, who is making that call. Jaros was in pit lane, and also now thinking about leaving pit lane will be the driver in the number 162, Matthias Kjellberg, who has also decided that the pit stop cycle has begun in earnest. And it's very nice to see green flag pit stops here at the championship finale. It makes a real difference for out there. Joel Bohlin, I think, is going to be making a call now to head down onto lane, and does so. And this is where you could get the trip up here from drivers not paying attention. Drivers like, say, for example, Fredriksson's group with Schert and Forsberg and Tier. That could be one where there's a bit of miscommunication in the pack.
And miscommunication is always the difficult moment, especially around pit stops, in and out. Very difficult situation sometimes, depending on where your car is on the track and where a driver may be diving it down your inside, but then you're wanting to come down into pit road. Most of them should be able to communicate with each other, but sometimes easier said than done. Here's Håkan on the outside of Fredriksson. Forsberg in the background as he now swaps to the inside to try and get that run, but he actually hasn't really worked. He's now going to have to block off Forsberg into turn 1. Forsberg just has to then rethink about that one, but nothing quite just yet. Got Tier and Robert Erling coming down the pit lane as well as it stands. His battle on the screen, by the way, is for P9, P10. The final couple of stage points, and it's Forsberg just outside, missing out as it stands.
Well, here's something to keep in mind as well here. The difference between those who have and those who haven't is 1.6 seconds a lap right now between Linus Broström and Jonas Gunnarsson. So the longer you leave it, the more likely you're going to get leapfrogged for the race lead by the time stops come in. But of course, you have to pay the Pied Piper back. later on in the run. So I think Linus Broström's going to be a very interesting candidate to look at, especially as he tries to unlap himself from the leaders. If he gets caught a lap down, he will get a lucky dog, but that's it. Everyone else behind doesn't. They get stuck. So if you pit early, you risk yourself being trapped the lap down, as we focus with the 101 of Håkan Schert still having to have this massive scrap. And that's Joel Bohlin, who's come in and made the stop, trying to get the lap back on these drivers.
I guess what they're hoping is that people see their 1.5 seconds faster and they're going to come in and follow them. Because if we stay out for another 10 laps or so, that's 15 seconds. That's half a lap around here. So we'll have to see how that one works out, because I think these guys will be able to basically drive themselves back onto the lead lap. Broström already has. Bohlin will be getting close soon as well. Joel Bohlin, that is, in another couple of laps. So it's certainly a risk there from Broström. But let's see how this one works out. I mean, Broström's actually quite a bit behind Aroldsson as well. But Aroldson's pit time looks a bit weird from what I can see. So I'm not sure what was going on there. But either way, Broström's actually 9 seconds behind Aroldsson.
Well, let's have a look at Alexander Aroldson's stop then, because I think that will tell you all you need to know. Because Aroldsson... Oh, that's why Alexander Aroldsson came down into the pits, and because his box is so early, he missed his box.
So he basically gave himself a drive-through penalty. That is really not good from a driver who was up 17 places.
No, and so it mires him back down, and it's almost a case that as he came in, he realised, oh, there's not really much that I can do. Now here comes the pin through the middle, out of 1 and 2. Lovely stuff. Kenneth Tier driving through Forsberg and Schert, who find themselves again back into line. That puts him then walking through after his stop and saying, look, this is what I'm capable of doing. This is lovely out there in terms of the sense of running. But Aroldsson, tough day at the office there, and it is inexcusable when the pit lane was entry to miss your box unless he wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, I guess that's also, if it goes in qualifying order, he was probably expecting to be qualifying up, but we've been speaking about him all day, qualifying at the back, and he wasn't quite ready for that. Then that's really not a good idea, as these guys battling it out for that final point. They've dropped Fredriksson, and this is what they are battling for. We're 18 laps down, stage at lap 60, where we'll be giving out 10 points for the winner, going all the way down to 1 point. For currently, Dante Forza. Oh, contact is made. Was Schott trying to get in the pit lane? Yes, he was. Contact was made, and now Fredriksson and Leppert are going to come through.
And that's what we talk about, miscommunication. You're trying to get down in the pits. There was nothing from Dante Forsberg to understand. Schert misses out, and so that now means he has to go an extra lap around the circuit to make his pit stop, and he'll hope that he's got enough fuel to do so. By the way that he's started this one out, he should be able to, but the tyres are a lap worse for the troubles. Dante Forsberg will turn around and say, well, I got no warning. Doesn't matter. You got to get up high and not run straight into the back of him. That's the issue with pit stops.
Certainly is, and I wonder if we see them later on in the race as well. If we get more green flag stops, that could be a determining factor in this championship. Which, as it stands here, the Beijer Building Materials 3:33 from Homestead Miami. Gunnarsson leads from the front row alongside Marcus Byfeld. Marcus Byfeld's been down and back up again, but they're still P1 and 2. And they're batting out. They're staying out there. They are 2 seconds a lap slower almost than their fastest laps. So the pace has really dropped off with these tyres, but they are staying out there because they want to try and have the fresher tyres for the end of the race and try and keep track position for the stage. But those who have stopped, like Linus Broström, he's now driven himself onto the lead lap.
That's a huge hit into 1 and 2 again. There from, I believe, Dante Forsberg, getting into Johannes Leppert, who rides the wall and still holds the position out there. Anything more would have been troublesome. The front right fender is exposed now for Johannes, so that's going to be trouble. And speaking of troubles, trying to get it slowed. Managed to get that one down onto the lane, but that there tells you more than what you need to know. as far as this one now set. So they now see that the 24 it is of Alexander Adolfsson, who just didn't even make an attempt. Oh, I went straight by it. Continues on. Great racing as well on now for third as Helmbro goes to the high side, and it's going to be a case of Jaros trying to get through and get the lap through on both of them right now for position. But Oliver Bohlin, I think, is going to fall back to fourth if he's not careful, but they're still side by side.
Oh, that is going to be a tough one. Well, it looks like he's just made that for third place on screen. We've got Forsberg on the inside to get back past Fredriksson. After a bit of an interesting couple of laps, Leppert is now dropped down. These drivers definitely having the cars moving around quite a bit as we're almost on to lap 50 of the race. And those tyres will be getting very close. On green flag fuel, we're looking about 52 laps. So if no one saved fuel in the next 5 laps, we could be seeing everyone else come down the pit lane. The top 13 have not stopped yet.
But if you're smart about it, you only fuel for, what, 7 laps, 8 laps out there and get back going, and then fuel at the stage. That was close off of 4, almost a tag of the wall there going through. Lars Bolke there is the one who finds trouble. Erling now trying to get his lap back, and he's going to dive under the apron then, and that's going to shuffle Tony Uvenen out of line there in 6th position, and that is a little bit naughty there to get 2 wheels underneath the apron to do that.
Oh, indeed, indeed. That may be spotted out because often the apron is completely out of bounds, but we will see these guys battling hard. They know they don't have so long to try and get to these points that they certainly do need. With Uvenen currently sitting in that 6th position, that'll be a nice haul of points if he can stay there. 5 it will be as we go on to lap 49 of the race. The mid-pack really have dropped off the leaders though, as the pace differential certainly comes out in these longer stint runs. Having said that, right now, everyone inside the top 10 is doing sort of mid to high 35, so a couple of tenths here, a couple of tenths there. We are looking fairly stable.
Yeah, and so that stability, I think, is going to really be felt out there at this moment, that this is one that can go either way. It hangs on a precipice, and noting Linus Broström now, he's less than 23 seconds behind the race lead. So that's going to make a huge factor as we near those who are thinking about their pit window and whether they are going to have to come in and make their stops, and those who have saved fuel, those who haven't, and those who have been light into the corners and maybe have been thinking about that for what is a very awkward stage actually. Lap 60 has really allowed for 2 strategies to prevail, and we've seen them both pretty much sitting there waiting and trying to make their cases known. I think that if this is a case of no stops, then Broström and Aroldsson have given up position. But if there are troubles out there that are going to force drivers to come in and take some service, then I think this is one where they have a really good chance of getting back here on 51 of 138.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how it's going to balance out when we get to the stage caution. I would assume those who are staying out, they're saving the fuel to get there. I don't think it makes sense for them to... Yeah, well, exactly. As well, because I don't think it makes sense to waste that now. And then also Broström is only 20 seconds off the lead, so he's just going to be gifted the stage win. So everyone staying out surely is going to go to the end and push it as much as they can. We've seen that a few times this season because often the stage is just a little bit more than what a fuel tank is, especially on these sort of mile and a halfers and the bigger tracks where the fuel is a little bit more limited. So certainly we'll see that as Aroldsson comes down pit road for a second time. Hopefully he makes his pit box this time. But 52 laps is the one, and his sister teammate of Lars Bolke will follow him in.
Yep, so that's 2 in, and for Lars Bolke, he will sit and know that he will come with Erik Lundberg there just behind, who started 19th in today's race and has been looking to try and find a way to just run through without too many dramas, looking to find the marks there, and we'll get the crew then up onto the jacks, get what looks like just fuel there. It didn't look like as much, and there goes Gunnarsson. So he's burnt through the fuel. If you're out in front, you're going to burn a bit more. Lap 53, leader comes in.
This is... Surely this is going to be easy stage win for Linus if all these guys come in. Weird decision. I was not expecting them to go this long, but I guess he was trying to make it work and maybe couldn't quite go far enough. But Byfeld, how long can he go He's on the older tyres now. He's going to be undercut if he does not come down pit lane. But I would assume he is going to react, maybe just a lap here or there.
Here
yes, he does. And such a difficult entry coming off the banking onto the apron. And he does, because he really had to. If he stayed up there on older tyres even for a couple laps, be easy win there for Gunnarsson. But Linus Broström is going to be looking strong. He's only...
Everyone in.
Yes, everyone else in. So lap 54, that's what we were told on the fuel number, is sort of the more maximum number. But it looks like everyone is going to be following suit, apart from Bjorn Broström, who is staying out, but he was quite far off the lead. So this is going to put Linus Broström up into the theoretical lead of the race once it all works out. And we'll have to just wait for the timing. But actually, this is now the battle for the lead. But Fredriksson and Leppit have not pit yet.
No, so that's going to be easily cleared, though. They're doing 36.8 compared to 35.3, so Broström then makes it a Broström 1-2 as in comes Bjorn, and this should be pretty plain sailing. Linus Broström now takes the lead out there. Leppit is continuing out there, but Oscar Fredriksson has to pit in. What a master stroke of strategy there from Linus Broström. It will leave him vulnerable later on in the race, but the key is he'll take the points now. And you ask where everyone else is. Kenneth Tier still yet to come in. And I look at Marcus Byfeld, and I think he's actually overcut this one here on Jonas Gunnarsson. He's done really well. Christopher Geros, they've had to try and get by on the run out. So teammate has played an absolute blinder there to try and help out. Gunnarsson clear, but ultimately behind by 1 place.
And that's a weird one, because their stop time was almost exactly the same. I mean, it's half a second, but Gunnarsson was leading, remember? So Gunnarsson had a half a second quicker stop, and it still didn't work out. So there must have been a difference on pit entry, pit exit. But look at this run from Geros, helping out his teammate. We said earlier that he wasn't really involved, and they're fighting for the Constructors' Championship with Broström and Oliver Wallin, Arvidsson, the likes of those for the top of the Constructors. But look at this for the Drivers' Championship as well. Geros is doing all he can.
Yeah, and on the radio, actually, is Jonas Gunnarsson, because I think he senses the frustration of knowing that it's the teammate that I'm having to fight with who has gone on an alternative strategy, and now his tyres are a little bit second-hand by comparison to his, and he can't get anything to work. So Jonas Gunnarsson, I think, is understanding that this is going to be really stinging, and and what he wants is going to be ringing in his ears with Broström, Leppit, Bohlin, and Tier. Then your top 4, 5th and 7th. Currently, the way it stands as far as it goes, I would be turning around at this and say it's decent points, but they are going to be the best placed by Byfeld and Gunnarsson for the second half of the race with 3 sets of tyres.
This is such a... Yeah, this is such an interesting one, because, yeah, just to confirm as what you're saying, they only did a gas and go, so their lap times are still slow. They're on those older tyres, so I just can't work out how they let this one get away, especially from Gunnarsson. It's an interesting one. We're coming on to lap 60, so we just got 1 lap to go, and then we'll crown the stage winner of the Beijer Building Materials 333. Broström leads with a blinder of a strategy. So he and Joel Wallen, they stopped quite a while ago. Kenneth Tier as well, Geros, Erling, all the drivers here in the top, and even Leppit. Leppit's going without a stop. So no one who pit late is going to be scoring the top points here. Very interestingly, it was worth going in the early stops, and I guess also the green flag running helped that, because if the caution came out when he was a lap down or at the back, that would not have helped his day. But lap 60 comes to a close, and Linus Broström will be taking the final stage win of the season here in Homestead, Miami. 10 points goes to him, and it's going to be 2 extra points gained for Marcus Byfeld. That's going to be very crucial for him in his championship charge. And now the gap is going to be 18 points to Gunnarsson when we get to this stage caution. But we will let the drivers all back up into each other. The pace track will come out, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes to work out how we're going to get to the end of this season. Welcome back to Homestead, Miami. It's the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan's Oval Series season finale, and the Beijer Building Materials 333. It was an interesting opening stage here. Linus Broström took the victory after doing a very early stop, but it stayed green. So the fresher tyres, he was able to undercut by a good 20 laps or so. Came out clear in the lead to take that. The important bit for the championship, though, is that after that, Gunnarsson dropped back behind Byfeld by 2 positions and loses another couple of points. So to my maths, it's Byfeld on 380 and Gunnarsson on 362. So it's 18 points now is the difference. We still have bonus points, fastest lap bonus point, a couple for most laps led, but apart from that, the extra potential 15 points gap that would be is going to have to be overcome by Gunnarsson, needing basically Byfeld to have some sort of incident. I am sure he's looking strong tonight. It's myself, Cam Roger, Jake Sperry alongside me, and Lorenzo Bonda on the production of this RaceSpotTV broadcast, as we are going to be rounding the cars up and going back racing here from Homestead. But the order is going to be a little bit all over the place after some varied pit stops and some drivers not taking it. So Helmbro, Lundberg, Broström, Forsberg, Scott.
It's the fact that the likes of Helmbro, Lundberg, Broström, Forsberg, they would have all taken 4 tyres at the stop to go get the track position for now off the restart. Linus Broström would have come back in, another set of 4 would go on. Marcus Byfeld, I believe, took 2 and then had to take 2 again at the stop. Same for Jonas Gunnarsson, who got out ahead of Christopher Geros on the stop. So they're looking at that going, okay, that's a little bit better. Drivers further back like Oliver Bohlin, Daniel Holmer, for example, they would have taken 4 tyres there, and so would have Tony Uvinen. So that will set itself up well. This has all the hallmarks right now, Cam, of a very, very chaotic restart.
And when we get back to this stage, it is longer than the first one, so we definitely have another stop to come to the end. Is the early stop going to work this time? Let's have a look at this one. Helmbro gets us underway here at Homestead. What a restart. It's a terrible start for the 41 of Bjorn Broström. He's really going to slow down. So Joel Bohlin on the inside, a little bit further behind of Skoglund. That is really not the ideal situation. We're 3-4 wide through the first couple of corners, as there's new tyres for those on the high line. As it's going to be Linus Broström already up into 3rd.
It's going to
big
be
contact.
Whoa, check up, 3-4 wide, and there's going to be the spin. That's going to do it. Caution comes out. Big one. Joel Bohlin caught up. So too Matthias Kjellberg. Daniel Holmer is in there, and so too Robert Erling. All your main protagonists have just about avoided malaise.
Wow, that could have had big implications. Gunnarsson was involved in some way, though, because he's dropped down to P15 when Byfeld up to P14. They only started 1 row apart. So there's now a big gap there. And Gunnarsson's chances are going down as we speak. That was a big one on the opening restart. It was such a clean run there at the beginning, but not enough. And it's going to be end-of-line penalty for Dan Holmer for coming down pit road as well.
Well, I'm just trying to dissect this because I think this sets up with Jonas Skoglund, who basically tries to come across to get to the high line. But the difference is Jonas Gunnarsson is the catalyst for it. There's overlap and they go in the wall. They then check up, and then critically on the checkup, 2 separate incidents. Joel Bohlin and Jonas Skoglund come together, and then looking further back at it, Robert Erling ultimately finds himself trying to move across the lane as it builds up around, and then he gets turned over the nose of Matthias Kjellberg. So 2 big incidents that come along from it, but all of it comes down to the fact that the pace was not there off of that restart, and it created a major incident that gave Jonas Skoglund a huge amount of fear on that running through.
Yeah, it's crazy how one driver getting a little bit of a bad start just caused a hold-up effect that goes half a lap away before we get to the incident. But drivers coming down pit road, we're going to re-rack all of the drivers. There's a whole host of drivers, including Jonas Gunnarsson, down pit road. And this is really tough for him. He's going for his championship tonight. He was looking to be in quite a strong position, but Byfeld is staying strong and consistent. Remember, as well, Byfeld in the last 2 races has had his 2 worst results of the season by far. So he really has not had the run, the momentum coming into this race. So the fact that he's able to push strong, get a solid result in the stage, and then be back up there right now is doing good. But he needs to still complete the job And if he has another DNF, then it's very likely to go the way of Gunnarsson.
Well, Jonas Gunnarsson is in the pits because he was slammed into the right-hand side wall in that incident. He's trying to repair the front right or do what he can to get that back and sorted. He'll be taking as much repair as he can and try and get out of the pits before they go and get a lap. And it's going to be close right now because the truck has just crossed the finish line at this point. He does get out ahead, which is important, so he'll be looking at getting as much service as he can, but he'll be running now off of this restart with a damaged 33, and that is a huge free kick right now to Marcus Byfeld in 4th position in the Supra.
Yes, indeed, because even if he gets back in position, you can see on that front right corner, still a decent amount of damage there. Because even if he gets back in position, he's even then not going to fight and he'll have worse tyre wear. So this is going to be a tough one. It's 74, the total second stage, by the time we go back to green flag racing on that first time. So we are definitely going to need a good 20, 30 laps of a second stint here. So there's going to be a lot of variables. Realistically, they're going to need to go 40 odd laps before they think about making this pit stop, and we only had 4 of them so far, most of which has been under caution. We re-rack them, and it's going to be Helmbro, Lundberg on that front row, Broström and Byfeld in second place, Forsberg, Leppit on the 3rd row. And let's see if everyone can get a clean restart this time. Pace truck is going to come in. And after the first incident caution of the day, we're going to get back racing once again. It's a solid start from the 77, but in behind, it was all clean up the front. No hold-ups this time around, so it's going to be to the high line as well for 77 as he tries to lead his way through turn 1 and 2.
Yeah, and you're going to see the difference now between those who have and those who don't, because it is still going to be 3 wides and keep yourself steady going through the middle. It's a lovely start then from Helmbro, who's got what he needs, but for the moment it's Erik Lundberg on the outside who finds himself now trying to work forward for it. So keep an eye out on the front, and big up on the high line there, Oliver Bohlin. Loves that one as he goes through contact behind and into the wall up top side. Lars Bulke's not going to be too happy about that. He got loose, almost 4 wide. It'll be 2 and 2 as they walk through now to 3 as they go into 1 and 2. Uvinen down the inside of Dante Forsberg with now Oliver Bohlin working that high line of tree.
That could have been another caution straight away. What a wobble that was. But he was able to catch it, and we are continuing racing on in towards turn 3 and 4. Every single line is being used there. All sort of 4 of the roads. This is the meatball for Robert Erling, as that is not ideal for him just on the restart. Under green flag conditions, he's going to have to come down pit road and get those repairs done. Lap 71 we go. So we're basically halfway stage of the race as we get back to green flag racing.
It's really weird there for Robert Erling. He hasn't hit, all he has, he's popped an engine. Robert Erling has popped an engine. That's why he's had to come down in, and he's done that all on his own at the back of the field. But look at how it fans up at the front right now. Broström's got back to point. Helbro now second. Lundberg on his outside. Bohlin's trying to find a way through, as is Fredriksson, Uvinen, Byfeld going backwards then off this start. And they are now starting to work. 2 wide, 2 deep. Fredriksson, if he's clever about this, might have an angle in the lane. Byfeld, I think, took the other 2 tyres, and he's paying for the 8 laps that he's done on his set of right sides as they will now work. Look at it, how close it goes. And a think from Fredriksson, which will just be that of thought.
Or just tags the back of Helmbro, the tiniest wiggle as the MHE Racing driver goes up high, has a big wiggle again, and Fredriksson looks to the inside, but Helmbro is going to be having none of that after feeling the contact through 3 and 4, but big send to the inside from Fredriksson, who's working his way up nicely. He's up 12 positions in this race, almost some contact with Lundberg, who's up 17 with 3 wide on the exit of 2. He's tight there, but Helmbro just about has enough space.
Well, look out on the high side. Oliver Bohlin now makes it a 1-2, and they've got the likes there up top as well, trying to get through. Alexander Aroldsson, who's had an up and down and all-around day so far. He's going to want to get himself into the mixer, and they're going to be close, and they do bang off of 4 then, and up into the wall slightly goes Aroldsson. Now to the inside, we'll try and work the likes then of Oscar Fredriksson again, but it's a case of pick your poison, pick your line. Everywhere seems to work at the moment, and that is a driver's nightmare on ovals when there are 3 or 4 different solutions to the same problem.
Everyone's staying so close together at the start of this as well. They're really pushing up towards the front. Not a lot of saving going on here because they know they need to make that pit stop. It's not like that first stint where potentially you could have saved some. It doesn't really work this time around, so everyone's trying to find their position. And Broström just can't get away with his teammate Bohlin at the front. There's so many drivers trying to get involved, and especially when you have aggressive drivers like Fredriksson, people who don't have much to lose, like Uven and Lundberg, fighting in there. It's definitely a difficult combination, but it's a Polski Logistics 1, 2, 3, and this is exactly what they need to win the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah, and the Constructors' Championship will be great, but the one thing you've got to know about NASCAR-style racing, teammates don't mean very much. You're out there to win for yourself.
That is very true, especially with these drivers. They are race winners. Got a couple of champions in Aracingligan and Broström. They are past champions of this class. Broström, even the reigning champion, and Bohlin, a race winner too. And a great signing from them a couple of years ago, and showing why he's in that team. They do a bit of a swap around there as Aracingligan takes second place.
A little bit of bumping along the back stretch then is going to help things out, and it's starting to settle a little bit. That's high up in the wall there from Tony Uvinen, and so that's going to be concerning. There is the push then as Lundberg, a little bit further back, is trying to keep himself honest in this group with Marcus Byfeldt, just keeping himself out of trouble at the moment, managing what he needs to do. Araldson up top side though, making the push for the race lead, and he's going to get there from the back of the field. Sands 2 now to the point. Oh, they're going to tag. Oh, how have they saved that one there? Fredriksson and not Uvinen, but Helmbro.
Wow, Helmbro drops back a couple of places, but look how close they are. Very easy to go up and down. To the outside, Fredriksson goes on the rear corner. That's a dangerous place to be. You don't want to be overlapped to that point as the 72 is coming up the natural racing line of the track, and Fredriksson has to slow down a little bit. Uvinen goes wide to avoid that, but this is very difficult at the front. Very, very difficult indeed. It's allowing Aracingligan to get away by half a second with this battling in behind, so that is what Polski want. Aracingligan from third to first in the last couple of laps, and now showing his pace. He's up 20 places, remember, after a strong practice but a difficult qualifying.
Yeah, I'm just looking around and just thinking now, who's going to stand up on song, because they know that they've settled themselves back down. Håkan Shirt, who's been down in pit lane, has left the engine idled, and so he's blown it up on pit lane. Also in pit lane as well is Matthias Kjellberg, who I think has retired the car now from the race. So we've lost 3. We're down to 20 runners here in this race, and with those extra 3 points here as well, you got to start thinking for Marcus Byfeldt, he's got to finish in the top 3/4 of this field now, still running, to go and take the title. This is almost an idyllic situation that he sits in with right now, and he'll also be keeping a good track on, now can I make the moves, because we know how good he is in the middle of a stint here, and he's now starting to make that move. Johannes Lepit, who's burnt through the tyre, there's the pass.
The important thing for Byfeldt is that Gunnarsson is in P17 and 2.5 seconds off the real train. So he, with the damage on the car, is not able to keep up. And to be honest, if it stays that way, it is fairly game, set and match, because we only care about Byfeldt being in the top 10 or so in points-wise if Gunnarsson wins the race. Well, Gunnarsson is 17 positions away from that. So it's looking good for Byfeldt, but do not rest on your laurels, because Byfeldt's already had a couple of DNFs basically this season and involved in incidents. It can happen, and we will, to be honest, we'll have to wait until the final lap of the day to wait for this. Byfeldt, he's had a strong season. He started with 3 race wins on the bounce, but from that point, he's only won 1 extra race, and that was 4 races ago.
And so the mark of the start of a season, if you can just win, and win, is brilliant. The flip side of it is nobody wins forever out there in racing, and someone will come along who's better than you, and it's about how you manage it. And I think that's the key, management out there. You use the gap you've got. It allows you the luxury of just picking your way through those final few races, and that's going to be critical right now. Uvinen to the inside of Oscar Fredriksson as we're on board with Byfeldt at this point in time, and that's a pretty clear one there from Tony Uvinen. Gets down low, gets the pass, drives up high off of the exit, and just carries that momentum well. Fredriksson just, I think, has to admit there in that scenario, there's not much he can do. Byfeld now to the inside of Peter Helmbro, and that, I would guess, is just a case of, well, bro, you got to just deal with that. That's a comfy pass again.
Clean move through turns 1 and 2. Has that one stuck. Now up into 6th position. He's behind Fredriksson, who, as you say, has just lost that position. Covers that one off. Goes the midline on entry, but then comes down to the apron. Does not allow the 105 up that inside line. I'm surprised we don't see too many drivers running the high line completely. Everyone seems to want to come down low. Let's see if that one changes throughout the as the race progresses. But certainly the 105 is, like we saw in that first stage, a little bit calm in the first 5-10 laps, get into the flow of it, and then start picking them off one at a time and moving your way forward.
And as we know, those who burn the tyres up quickly and are good over the first 10 to 15 laps of a stint just so happen to be in that Polski team, and that was low searching, just loses out scrub through the middle, trying to get the drive off the exit. That higher line will help because you've got more banking to help you there through those 20 degrees. There's 4 degrees of banking out there on the straight, which will certainly help you tip in, but critically, you know, you're fighting for the bottom of the track here, and Helmbro once again sees that, but Oscar Fredriksson's got a car that's set up very well for that higher line, for that middle of the track run. So there is going to be a case of, if you can't get the initial turn into work, that's going to be key. Swap out for the race lead as well as they fight side by side for 5th, because Linus Broström is back to the point.
Yes, he is, and that is an interesting one because they're also pulling away at the front from Oliver Wallin. So the top two, the 2 teammates, the 2 previous champions are going for it. And they, you mentioned it earlier, Jake, there's no friends as such when it comes to winning a race. Ericsson needs a win, really, just to reignite his season. I know it's a final race, but he just needs that confidence going into season 10 in the autumn. But also, your reigning champion of Linus Broström has not won a race this season either. So after going from being the champion, fair enough, we changed the car from the next gen to the O'Reilly's car, but still, he has not won a race, and we certainly want to show why he is the reigning champion.
And that makes a difference, because when you're in the full spec of what NASCAR is, you know you've got all the power and responsibility, and it's about a level of care. There's a little bit more mashability when you go to the O'Reilly's machines out there. It's a little bit more of a training car out there to go and get it correct. The draft is a little bit more potent as you try and work through. It's a little bit easier to go out there and battle with. So it allows more people more opportunity to go and be a little bit more aggressive and challenge more. So moving from the class from right up there at the very high level Noisies all the way here to the O'Reillys, or what used to be known as the ARCA series cars, it does drive differently, and you have to respect what skills you need to pilot this correctly compared to, say, a truck, compared to, say, when you get up there in the NASCAR field.
Jonas Gunnarsson down pit lane, and that's going to be a tough one. We'll have to see how long his pit stop is. It's already 50 laps to the end, so he's going to be slow at the end of the race, even if he goes to the end from here, being such a long stint to the end. So this could be championship over, to be honest, as he's down that pit lane. We'll see how this one progresses. He's going to go a lap down as Marcus Byfeld works his way through turns 1 and 2 in 6th place, and on his way to his first title.
Well, Jonas Gunnarsson, I think, had to make that call, and the reason why is that he is 50 laps out from the end of this race. He needs to do something early because he needs less damage for longer, pitting earlier rather than later, even though, as you watch Peter Helmbro then dive down into pit lane, who was one of those who didn't stay out, or who did stay out, sorry, in the early stages. Pitting earlier rather than later means you've got less damage for longer, and I think that's only a good decision.
Yes, that's probably as good. It's just the fact that it's not going to be a fun one to the end. He's a lap down. It's a 15-second stop, so just a little bit longer than normal. So definitely some repairs being made. He's back out onto the field, but let's see what sort of his pace is going to be. I guess he's 1, 2, 3. He's the 4th car a lap down, so he's not going to get a lucky dog either. He's going to have to fight for this if he wants his championship. But either way, he needs some issues for Marcus Byfeld, who's now side by side with Fredriksson in turn 1 and 2. Fredriksson has not given up this just yet, but Byfeld does get another place to P5. We're looking at the back now of Tony Uvinen, who's having a strong run in P4.
He is, and for that, he will note that Tony is going to be looking around at this. Started fourth, is fourth. It's the most fourth of a day that you could possibly have. But Marcus knows he was pole sitter for a reason. He was quickest for a reason. And he's trying to drag himself back up to that level to go, look, I will challenge out there from the front. So they're working with that as things go. Jonas Skoglund trying to unlap himself on Broström and Haraldsson. Bohlin has been dropped, but Bohlin has also dropped Tony Uvinen out there. So it means that the packs are forming, and they form in two very distinct ways here. It's quite expansive through the opening 7 or 8 places. You get back to 10th with Lars Bolke and the like. It is an absolute free-for-all back here.
It certainly is. Every point is up for grabs for the final time of asking, and therefore the drivers are going to be going for it. The field is also a little bit more up and down compared to some of the other results that we had this season, as Byfeld goes to the inside of the 84 and Uvinen comes down as well, so he's not going to get the exact momentum that he would have wanted off that turn 2, down the back straight away, and for the lead we've seen a swap again. Haraldsson to the inside of Broström. They're just enjoying that battle. They're a second and a half ahead of Oliver Bohlin, as in the second picture we're seeing Byfeld just complete that move off T4.
Yep, so Marcus Byfeld up to 4th. The leaders now swap around once again, and they'll be managing this, thinking about what do we need to do. If we focus together, Haraldsson and Broström, it's going to only be a race between Haraldsson and Broström. I think they want nobody else to the party if they can help it, and I think that's going to be key to the way that they win this race, so long as it stays green all the way to the end of this one. And let's be honest with this, by the time we tick over at 40 laps to go on lap 98, there's going to be some drivers who think that their egos are going to be there. And speaking of egos, that's a big slide. The 112 then holds on. Oscar Fredriksson was coming to pit lane, but no, the caution does come up because they junk across the front.
Yes, that was Hagman doing a spin. So was that the 112 trying to get in pit lane, causing, well, not necessarily causing, because he knows his right to go in pit lane, but then the further contact causing that eventual caution? That is going to change things a little bit, because we're at the point where you can get to the end of the race. Everyone's done about 30 laps, give or take, on the tyres. Surely this is the time to pit. For those who've saved an extra set of tyres, that's good news. For those who are going on to their 4th set of tyres, they're just going to have to commit, really, and just hope there isn't a late caution.
Well, this is all about Christopher Jaros here, who was trying to work through. So here's Hagman, who's trying to get his lap back on the outside. He's just working through this. He'll see the contact now as Jaros is unsighted. That moves up the cars behind, up the order, and basically Marcus Hagman works out, no, it's not Z, and it's never Z or X or T, and ultimately he loses the game with Hangman out there on the top side.
Absolutely, he certainly does. It's such a shame. There was a tiniest bit of contact, really. It was not that hard of a contact, but these cars are so on the limit that they are, they're sort of floating around, really. They got grip, but they are kind of floating around. So you just put a little bit of pressure here and there. They're so easily tight or loose that that bit of contact just pushes them down pit lane. Is it left, right? To the left, everyone goes, as expected. If you stay out with 30 lap old tyres, you're just going to be rinsed, and then you're going to have a green flag stop, so you're going to be rinsed the second time. You have to come in now. Although I say that, Christopher Jaros looks like he has stayed out. Is this in some way to play devil's advocate, or does he want to have his car up there to help Marcus Byfeld? We'll find out.
Well, he's the only one who has stayed out. Everybody else has gone in and have looked at laps, and this will be a case of everybody is trying to get service here to go and get their laps back out there on circuit. So I think that's going to be quite a telling point, as you can see the clearances now offered the lane. 4 tyres for pretty much everyone. Haraldsson wins it over Broström and Bohlin. Byfeld 4th, then Uvinen, Lundberg, Fredriksson dropping back one then on the stop. So I think they'll say, look, we're all going to be back in line, we're all going to be fine about it, but it is worth noting that because of the fact that Christopher Geros has stayed out, it means drivers like Jonas Skoglund and Daniel Holmer, they get trapped right now. Peter Helmbro, who is at the front of the group, will automatically be allowed to jump around because he is ahead of the leader, and it will also mean, with the way that this goes, it's a race off pit lane between Gunnarsson and Hagman to see who would then be in the lucky dog.
So, certainly will. They're down pit road currently, but they have both got long stops taking those repairs. So Gunnarsson just trying to get his car in the best shape possible as he's just trying to get out in front of the pace truck as well as they work their way through T1 and 2. I'm interested now, Jake. We've got 40 laps to go. The incidents are coming thick and fast. We now have a driver on 35-lap-old tyres starting at the front. What could possibly go wrong?
Everything. Absolutely everything. Christopher Geros here is going to be the sim racing equivalent right now of jumping up onto a full NASCAR spec in the equivalent of a Suzuki Swift.
I mean, that's quite a difference, I have to say. But you're very true. We go back to side by side. The pace truck will come in as meatball for Marcus Hagman. I mean, to be expected in some ways, but he was... How was that suddenly caused when we're under caution? That is an interesting one. We'll have to try and find out.
He's gone up to speed and he has looped it round as he was slowing down to get back into pits, and I think he's gone into the wall.
Well, we'll have to find out that one. It's going to be Geros on the old tyres getting us underway. Surely there's going to be some wheel spin. Actually, the Polski guys give him some room, so fair play to that. Broström did not want to be right up the backside of him in towards the first corner, but around the outside, look at the difference in grip. The new tyres, Geros is going to go backwards. He's going to be last by the end of the first lap.
Well, if he's not careful here, because now it's going to create this checkup because it's 2 or 3 wide in the middle around Uvenen and Lundberg and Fredriksson as they work through. Now they're going to have to go either side of him, and he's going to understeer as he gets just basically breezed by out there on circuit. Christopher going the wrong way. Massive tailfish then from Fredriksson, but lovely is the side-by-side as Lundberg and Uvenen now starting to work. It was Eric Lundberg who had the contact with Hagman that caused the caution, but Aroldsson leads from Bohlin from Broström.
The Beijer Building Materials 333 hits lap 100. We have 38 laps to go of the season. Aroldsson leads from Bohlin and Broström, the 3 teammates up ahead. Byfeld and P4 in championship position. Here's Hagman getting his meatball, comes off the apron and then loses the rear end. Oh, he's going to have a big hit into the wall. And that is how he had the meatball. And that is under caution, which is a little bit silly.
Well, sometimes it happens because you're pushing and you think no one's watching. The mistake is there, and Aroldsson now taking a big high line, but look at this. Byfeld struggling here on the restarts, and this is the one weakness that he's had. Unable to get the tyres to work well off of the start. It's very much a long game set that he sat and playing with. Fredriksson by, Lundberg by, Joel Bohlin is now looking on the outside trying to get in. 2 wide, 3 deep out of 4.
This is why we love the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan. That's why Bohlin signed up for another season as well. It's great fun here every Thursday night on RaceSpotTV, and we're encouraging you to join us next season from September. Final race of the season, though, and we need to wrap this one up. But Byfeld is going backwards. He was P4. He's now P8. Still good enough for the championship, but maybe just trying to get out of this trouble.
Maybe just early on. He's trying to get there. It's big work. Fredriksson is making moves, and Oliver Bohlin now just in front is going to be into position 2. So for the moment, Tony Uvenen on the outside is just trying to get enough room on the lane to say, look, I don't have to panic so much about the way this is setting up. I can go and be super duper aggressive because I've got nothing to lose in a race like this that puts him now up to 3rd. And Linus Broström, the one going backwards now, he's in 6th after that restart and now really needs to just get it in gear and get moving.
Oh, it does, and this is the time to work your way forward. Everyone's close together. The gaps will spread out the longer this green flag run goes. But if you're able to make moves right now, then that is certainly a good opportunity. Everyone is close together and everyone is on these fresher tyres where you can trust them to go side by side. Let's see through turns number 1 and 2. No moves this time around as the Field does spread out just a little bit, but it's over a second now to Eracingligan at the front, but in behind, the next second there's 5 cars.
Yeah, so everyone realises that the front of the group's where it's at and everyone else is about. Lars Bohlin is absolutely trying that outside line. He clears Marcus Byfeld. He doesn't get by Joel Bohlin for position. So Bohlin is going to be staring at that going, okay, well, how am I going to be concerned about it? Broström in a little bit of struggle street at this point of the race and is probably hoping that I didn't really have to navigate that. And speaking of navigating, here comes Oscar Fredriksson going for second. Oliver Bohlin now up on the top side, having to try and defend the 72 versus the 112. I will say 72 is my favourite number in motorsport, but for the moment, Oliver, wall side, getting it done and saying, look, I'm going to hold on because I can use a little bit of that wall on the outside to give me a tiny little air cushion that gives me effectively the Mario Kart 8 little push by around as you go through 0G.
That is what we love to see. That's the first driver to properly use that wall the whole way around. I'd love to see some drivers use it more. It worked to good effect though. He had such momentum, gained 2-3 car lengths as he came down, because you basically come down a hill off turn 4 to the front straight as the banking subsides and really helps you down that front straight. He kept in there into P2, but Fredriksson is not giving this one up, getting the podium last time out as well, a couple of times ago, after a very aggressive drive. And he's doing it once again. He's making it work, though. He's up 12 positions. And the driver for Sim Race Sweden, who has not had the season he would have wanted, but he's having the speed now. And in the final race of the season, is trying to get the win. The problem for these guys is Eracingligan. He's gone off by a whole second off at the front.
Yeah, and that's just pace from Alexander Eracingligan. He was the fastest guy in practice, didn't qualify it, and worked his way through the field to get back into placement, and he's done well now, as it'll be 30 laps to go next time at the line. I think that he's driven very well, but the issue's going to be Eracingligan's tyres go away quicker than others, and that's going to be the way you get him back. Final 10 laps, if it's still green at this point, he'll get there. This is the championship position right now. Marcus Byfeld in 8th, and all the way back down, 1 lap down in 17th, Jonas Gunnarsson. For the moment, it looks like it's going to be a road oval double for Marcus Byfeld,
which would be the first time it's ever happened in the same season. And also, this is Byfeld's first ever oval season. He's won 4 road course championships, 4 of the last 5 to be precise, and now eventually being convinced to come to the oval series as well. Dominated the first 3 races of the season. Win, win, win. Then he had to have a little break in Atlanta, but then we came back with a win again in the 5th race. Everyone thought he was going to dominate. Well, after a couple of DNFs and difficult races, that opened up the door for Gunnarsson to reignite his championship charge, and it hasn't been easy. 15 points was the gap, but he did everything that he needed, getting the pole position, doing well in the stage. And now, even a P8 finish, even if Gunnarsson were to be leading right now, this would still be enough points.
Yeah, and I look at it and you go, how do you construct this if you're Jonas Gunnarsson? He's just had to hold in, dig deep, and at the round he needs it the most. Marcus Byfeld hasn't been at 100% today, and he still has had an even worse race because he was wrong place, wrong time in the instant that threw the caution straight after. There's contact between Uvinen and Fredriksson going through 1 and 2. So Tony Uvinen is going to realise, look, I'm going to want to start moving drivers off the line. That's what we call using the chrome horn and pushing drivers out the way. You can do it, but you can't do it often. And look at what it means. That's a big move down to the inside there. Block pass thrown by Erik Lundberg.
And Lundberg on the podium place as it stands. And that is, of course, for a driver who's not necessarily where he would have wanted in the championship. He's P16 in the championship. He's been to every race. But he has got the most penalty points this season at 20, which is not helping his position. Further contact is made with Fredriksson on the outside of that. That's with Uvinen, but Lundberg is up into a podium place.
Uvinen's not happy on the radio there. He just got straight on to Oscar Fredriksson. My Swedish is no good, but it would have been the equivalent of, what are you doing, continually making contact with me. But ultimately, Byfeld back through on Lars Bohlin, and now Uvinen is going to see Fredriksson here try and really start attacking here. But he's going to see, he's going to get right down in. They're going to leave no room between each other. Right now, he's pinched down low. Uvenen's loose and holds onto it. Brostrom's got the popcorn seat going. Guys, come on, let's play nice. We don't want this to go to a yellow out there at this point. Now, here comes Marcus Byfeldt down low.
And this is the Swedish Eracingligan at its very best. Brostrom on the outside of Byfeldt in the background as well for P6 and 7. What a finish to the season we're having here as we have 25 laps to go. The sun is setting on the track and on this season, but the racing is hard as ever. Fredriksson tried his best to block down on the inside of the 84 of Uvenen. In the end, he came out on top, but on the outside line is Broström still there, trying to get Byfeldt. He's blocked in a little bit, but he does have the draft, and that is P6 confirmed.
Holds on for now, and Uvenen's going to get caught in a bit of dirty air here, so this is a chance to dive low now for the likes of Linus Broström, who will look to get that run on the outside or down low on the inside, but he knows that he's on the wrong side of the draft train that's there. Uvenen is trying to work that high line around to try and be helpful. So too going up high is Lars Bolke, but I think he goes a little bit too deep up on the high line, and this is what you see, contrasting styles that are starting to play out at the moment. The group behind Lundberg now 2 seconds off the leader, throw back to the inside, then from Tony Uvenen, and again it is given just the lane at the bottom, and Oscar Fredriksson right now is leaving this in a position. You have one lane, you have to pin it on the bottom, or you've got to be creative.
What racing this is, as Uvenen is not done with this one. Sometimes it gets personal out there. They were door to door. This time Fredriksson has enough to cover off. But Broström doesn't really care about this. He's like, you guys having a squabble. I want to get past both of you and chase down Lundberg for a podium place, which is rapidly going off by half a second in the distance. It's over 2 seconds up to the top two, which is pretty confirmed. But there's still 20 laps to go in this race. What a green flag stretch we are having here towards the end of this race. It is fast and flowing. The speed of these cars is still very good. We are about a second and a half off the pure pace though when they're brand new, but we're only 20 lap old tyres and they should be able to push to the end.
And also pushing to the end is Oliver Bohlin, who has got the gap to 0.6 of a second here to Alexander Aroldsson, as that's going to be key here. Uvenen will see that he's got good drive. He's in that train of 4. Byfeldt also helping there with that draft line, and now Broström is going to be wrong place, wrong time, down on the bottom. Byfeldt sweeps around the outside. He's going to get there. Great drive by Tony Uvenen as well. Oscar Fredriksson is going to have to look out here into 1 and 2 once more here on lap 118. But again, how deep do you want to drive it in? How much lane have you got? He just suffers with understeer, and finally Tony Uvenen says, gotcha, here comes Byfeldt.
And I was expecting Broström to be ahead a couple laps ago, but after that wiggle is now going to be Uvenen and Byfeldt down this back straight potentially to cover that one off. Uvenen's putting himself in a very awkward position for Fredriksson to try and defend this one off Byfeldt because he can't quite get down as much as he would have wanted. So Byfeldt will have the inside line down the front straightaway as he come across the stripe to start another lap. 20 laps to go.
Well, at the moment, this is where everyone is trying to put themselves in. Byfeldt's getting as much as he can out of it, and Broström's got a wonderful run off the exit of 2, so now he's going to pick up on the tone. This is what happens. You spend more than a lap outside of the draft train, you're going backwards, and that's just reality that sets in, and they've got to be very alert to where that is. Broström again getting close, but Marcus Byfeldt knowing he's got to do nothing silly in this group now when he's going for these moves. He's got it secured. He's now just got to try and lock it down here for the final 18.
And you want to finish the season on a bit of a high as well, so he won't be wanting to completely give up, but he will be, I assume, wanting to sacrifice a position or two if it means getting home to the finish. But look at these guys ahead of him. They're going for everything. Broström from the outside to the in to cover off Fredriksson. He knows that's going to be a difficult overtake, and now he's trying to get on the back of Uvenen. Fredriksson goes a bit wide, actually, so that's going to be an easy pass of Byfeldt to come through too.
Not without scraping some paint, and tags the wall of 4 there, does Linus Broström. So Byfeldt's going to get back down to the inside, and they are starting to suffer on the run for how aggressive they've been in the group. Bohlin is falling back now from Aroldsson, who's managed the tyre very nicely over the course of his stint, allowed him back in and said, no, I'm going to yo-yo the gap back out but Byfeld still back low. Broström using all of that experience, saying, my tyres might look second best, but I have ways around this Homestead Miami circuit to make it happen. And the 71 is going to get great drive up over the top side, and it's actually going to give him a run here to say, look, I'm going to switch down to the low side. I'm going to attack Tony Uvinen.
I tell you what, the highline is so much better. I think these guys need to use it a little bit more. Look at that run. He was trying to get ahead of Byfeld. He's now ahead of Uvinen. And even look in the back of Lundberg with 3.5 seconds off the lead. Really dropped off. Lundberg, he's only had one top 10 this season. He's not even a top 5 or anything. He's looking at a podium place if he can hold on. But Broström, Byfeld are the 2 cars in behind, looking to be in the top 3 in the championship for Broström. But he's now got his eyes firmly set on the 84 as the laps tick down very quickly indeed. This is getting to a point of 15 laps to go. We're 26 laps into the stint. Everyone's going to the end. The high line for the 71, trying to go the long way round, and it's going to work. He's come onto the back straight, but he's got to finish the job in turn 3.
As Jeremy Scott would say, that is a move that was high, wide and handsome in terms of the way that Linus Broström would be able to move up into 3rd place. Erik Lundberg is looking at that going, well, have I just burnt everything too quickly? Marcus Byfeld's going to want in now on trying to get this sorted. And if you're looking at what everyone's thinking about, the operative word is if you can survive and manage and deal with it, because they are going to start making these moves here, and they are going to be a little bit more choice as they head towards the end of this race. And I think you're going to be having to start wondering at this point, who's actually going to be out there and just wanting this one to be plain and simple, and who's going to start getting their elbows out and saying, no, I'm holding on to my place, you're going to have to take it from my hands, and I'm not going to let you have anything.
Oh, what a run there from Byfeld, but he got a little bit scuppered on the exit, the tiniest wiggle, but down the inside into turn 1. Broström's not even going to really fight that one at this stage. I'm pretty sure he's going to want to finish ahead of him, A, for the constructors, but also be a 1-2-3 for Polski. Just the fact of that, and a season that's been so dominated by others, will be very good indeed. I mean, we were talking about the Street Trends driver of Byfeld, Simrace Sweden of Gunnarsson. They've been all the talk, but it's Polski who have the opportunity to lock out the podium. But look at Byfeld running away with this, trying to chase down the top 2 maybe, with almost 10 laps to go.
Yeah, and it's too far of a gap right now. It's 2.3 seconds to get on and through with it. We know he's great late race in terms of his pace, but I don't think he's clawing that much back this late on out there in the race. But it's now a chance for Erik Lundberg, who gets straight back at Linus Broström, will look out of the mirror and say, this is how I'm going to get it done. Highline as well, also being searched by Lars Bolke here against Tony Uvinen. And that's Lundberg going up high, forcing all the way out wide to defend there, Linus Broström. Got to be careful about where you're managing it, because you can't leave all the room in the world.
Certainly can't. Oscar Fredriksson, by the way, has gone down to P10 after a difficult few laps. He was looking at fighting for a potential podium here, but now he's going to be almost outside of the points. Big move there to the inside of the 84 as he gets the run off turn 2 in towards the inside of Lars Bulke, but Bulke goes to the midline to try and hold on to this one. This would be P6 as it stands. He keeps going high off to the wall, scrapes the barrier as he tries to hold on to P number 6.
It's just too aggressive there. He wanted that place, he wanted to hold it. He'll again go high. Joel Bohlin goes low. And so this could be a case of just the tyres starting to give up, more understeer being found, the scenario of it's just tight. And again, coming off the banking, he gets very close to Joel, and you're having to leave room as you come off the banking because they've got the steering and it's cranked over the other way. So the car's always going to drop down the hill until you find a way to straighten up the steering wheel once more. So it's very tough to battle out there, especially the car on the outside. You just got to give room. And Lars Bolke right now, I think, is leaving his paint all over here, the 305.
Wow, he was in the wall on the exit of turn 4. I think he just tagged the 84 coming through turn 2. Now he's wide again. He's going to get very tight with Joel Bohlin, the 43. Oh, he cuts that one off to get to the inside of Tony Uvinen, down the back straight into turn 3. Now he has the inside line. He's going over every single square inch of this circuit, trying to hold on to this P6. They do have Lundberg just a few tenths up the way if they can calm down, but I don't think any of these drivers want to give up on the opportunity. Unfortunately for these guys, though, P3 is gone as Byfeld is over a second and a half ahead of Broström.
Yeah, nothing you can do about that. And now they're going to be 3 wide here because Joel Bohlin's got the inside of Tony Uven and Bulky taking that big wide line off of it, but they are going to come back to single file. But it now brings Johannes Leppit into play, and Leppit has had a day that I think ninth doesn't do it justice. He's been up, down, and all around, and he's ended up ninth.
Yeah, I guess sometimes the picture on the grid and the final results doesn't tell the tale of the story. Even if you finish in the same position, you could have been in every single other place throughout this race as well. As we are getting close to the end now, aren't we? 131 of 138 as the Beijer Building Materials 333 is coming to an end. We haven't seen much of Ericsson in the last 20 laps, though, because he's just been leading, and it's almost 2 seconds now to his teammate of Bohlin. Byfeld is in third, Broström fourth, but then this big battle behind Lundberg is continuing on.
Well, this is where you're getting the closest running out there, and they know those points are going to be out there and hard fought for. If any incident's going to come, it's going to come in that large group, I would argue, at this point, by someone deciding their ego's bigger than the rest of this. And it's also worth noting, too, as they're setting up, we should be good on time for overtime out there. The server's got 26 minutes remaining for it. And oh, speak of the devil, bang, hard into the wall there. Joel Bohlin, Johannes Leppit, no caution.
Yeah, he keeps it straight. That should be okay to continue on, which is lucky for some, as they will be wanting to get to the end of this race without another restart, as the tyres will be wearing and wearing. We are now 35 laps into this stint, and that was certainly a good opportunity to have a little green light checker to the end. But no, we continue on green flag racing, and it is looking very good for those at the front. No real threats coming from in behind, as it looks like Broström is easily now staying ahead of Lundberg. Behind, this is Lars Bulke now in, sorry, no, that's Kenneth Tier, I should say. This is a little bit further down, ahead of Bjorn Broström. Is his teammate Bulke, who's up into 6th place, but he's got a big battle behind of Uven and Tier, who we're looking at, and then Bjorn Broström.
And he's working really hard as Kenneth Tier. He started 18th. He's up double-digit positions. And the only other 2 drivers who have double-digit gains in today's racing, Erik Lundberg, who's in the top 5, and your leader, Alexander Haraldsson, who is up 20 spaces in this one. Highlight starting to be worked by Bulky and Tier. Uvenen is going to have to be alert to this because Kenneth Tier is rampaging up towards, and he's thinking about where do you want to go. They're all starting to go high now. I think they understand the MO.
Yeah, they probably could have done this a good 30, 40 laps ago, but now they are realizing it is the way to go to the end of this race. Just a couple of laps to go, and we'll be getting to the end of the season. It's season 9, the Svenska Eracingligan, and we are ready to crown a new champion in a season that's so called to be dominated by Marcus Byfeld. He's going to not win a race in the final 5 races of the season, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. Look at the run to the inside there from Kenneth Tier as he's trying to make it work, but this time it's the low line as his teammate Lars Bulke goes high.
They just dealt with Jonas Skoglund, who's 4 laps down, and that was a little bit of contact there that put them into play with 3 laps to go. I think they're settling down now for what it's going to be. There is a chance for second for Marcus Byfeld here. He's got the gap to 6 tenths, but he won't do anything silly because he knows the championship's there. This was Kenneth Tier trying to find it, and I tell you who is making moves now, Bjorn Broström, who's got himself a lovely drive out there at the moment and trying to get himself through. But I think this story was written at just after halfway, the incident on the restart of the second stage, and Jonas Gunnarsson, who was I would say the tipping point, the chain reaction, putting it into play. A couple of popsicle sticks lying in the air.
Indeed, as it's going to be a lap and a half to go. Alex Haraldsson down the back straightaways, he's coming up to the white flag. And after a tough season, it's going to be a dominant victory for him in a lap's time. Bjorn Broström up the inside of Uvenen to come on to his penultimate lap of the race. That'll be a strong result from him if he can get up there. There's a couple of places still to go, but it's one final lap to go.
It absolutely is, and they'll know on this final lap that this is going to set itself into what is an all-important showcase of battling here, and they know that this 1 and 2 section is going to be really important. Bjorn Broström, then Tony Uvinen fading late, then on the run. They all run middle up to high, and it's been a very, very accomplished run as here comes Haraldsson.
And after a difficult season, the 24 and Polski Logistics will be getting race victory here tonight. And it might even be a couple of drivers on the podium. But in a season dominated, it's going to be 6 different drivers to win this season out of 9 races. Not so dominant in the end, as Marcus Byfeldt will come across the line in second place and take his first championship here, the Swedish Eracingligan, sponsored by Bohlin, and this is a Beijer Building Materials 333. Podium will be rounded out by Oliver Wallin. Marcus Byfeldt there, he had such a dominant start to the season. He won 4 of the first 5 races, and in the end was able to scrape it across the line there. He had a difficult struggle for a couple of races. Gunnarsson got close, but when it mattered, he put it on pole here today and had a strong drive to finish in second place, overtaking Oliver Wallin on that final lap. In a strong race for Polski Logistics with Wallin and Linus Broström, there 3 inside the top 4. But the 105 was the car we were waiting for him to win the championship, really, after a strong race. He struggled here and there, but in the end, he was able to secure back-to-back titles. It was the road course last week, the oval this week, and he is now a 5-time champion here in SEL, which is the most of any driver. What a season it's been from him as he serves up some donuts on the front straight.
I think it's quite telling that the rise of Marcus Byfeldt is one that is going to be noted here in Svensk folklore as they start setting themselves up for what will be 2 more new seasons out there. To get a win in the roadside and to be just dominant on the roadside is one thing. Oval is a lot more unpredictable. There's a lot more factors that can cause you to make or break your race. And again, he's showing his calm, his poise, his prowess. And I think Marcus Byfeldt can take his hand to anything, and he can give so many drivers a good run for the money.
And in the end, for today's race, 138 laps around Homestead, Miami, it was Haraldsson in the end by over 2.5 seconds from Marcus Byfeldt, who just by a 1/10 of a second got Oliver Wallin on that final lap, as we see the 3 manufacturers all on the podium. Broström is in 4th place with Eric Lundberg, his best result this season for Trash Car Customs, getting 5th position. Lars Bulker, Tyr, Broström, Uvinen and Wallin round out the top 10, with Dan Holmer getting that fastest lap on a lap 123 as he was pushing towards the end of this race. Oscar Fredriksson, he was looking good for top 5, but in the end will be P11. Peter Helmbro will be in 12th, and Forsberg, the last driver on the lead lap. Marcus Stiller from the back of the grid will be 1 lap down with Gyros as well. Jonas Gunnarsson so close yet so far, as he ended up in P16 after being involved in that contact after the stage caution, where we got back to green flag racing and there was a big pile up. Dan Holmer with the fastest lap, but in P17. Leppert is in 18th. Skoglund and Hagman, the first of the drivers, basically having a DNF today. Then Erling, Kjellberg and Håkan Schott will round out the 23 drivers here for the final race of the season. And unfortunately, as ever, Marcus Byfeldt not wanting to speak to us in English. I'll try and work on my Swedish next time around, but we will get Alex Haraldsson in the number 24. Alex, that was certainly a tough season for you, but what a way to finish that. I mean, in the end, a dominant victory by 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, well, that finished off the season quite well, I have to say. But I think I did every mistake you possibly could make today, other than putting the car in the wall. Messed up my qualifying lap, missed my pit box thanks to pitting so far back in the pit lane. And then what else? Well, I got a lucky dog and then missed the pits before the pit lane closed. But then thankfully I caught a quick caution after that and got back on the lead lap and pit with tires and was able to drive to the front from there.
Yeah, it was really an up and down race. You're looking fast in practice. What actually happened in that qualifying session? Was it just a mistake?
Well, it was a mistake. I just tapped the wall very lightly in turn 4, turn 2, and that invalidated my lap. So that's what happened.
Well, certainly a good job to recover from that one. You're clearly the fastest driver out there today. I mean, even throughout the opening stint, you were up, 10, 15 places straight away, to be honest. How do you find this car at this track? I mean, clearly it suits you very well.
Well, I mean, first of all, I love this car, and I quite enjoyed driving this track as well. So it's a good combination for me, to be honest. And I knew I had good pace. I mean, I even managed to beat Marcus Byfeld in the practice race we had earlier in the week. So I knew coming into the race today that I had a good pace. As long as I could execute, which thankfully I managed to do at the end. So, yeah.
And in the end, I think you might have been able to sneak 4th place in the championship, which isn't so bad considering you struggled a little bit overall. Looking forward to next season, though. Are you going to be able to set sights on being the champion again? Or is it, as ever, just going to be a tough one with the likes of Byfeld, Gunnarsson, Broström, etc.?
Yeah, I think I was 7 points behind Daniel Holmer going into the race today, and I don't think he scored any stage points, and I'm not sure exactly where he finished, but I should have been able to sneak into to 4th place today, so that's good. That's a good end to the season. And I think obviously if I can get a better start than being crashed before the start-finish line on the first lap next season, then hopefully I can be up there and challenge for the win and for the championship.
Absolutely, you're on the back foot, that's for sure. But amazing end to the season at least, and well done on getting a race win, and hopefully we'll speak to you next season.
Yeah, hopefully. And I also have to say that, hopefully my team, Polski Esports, won the team championship, if our calculations are correct. So that's great. And we have had great teamwork all season. And also big congratulations to Marcus Byfeld for amazing and very deserving championship win.
Absolutely. It's great to speak to you, Alex, and we'll see you soon.
See ya.
And now we'll bring in Linus Broström of the number 71. A difficult day out there, Linus. That was a crazy race, to be honest. It was really brutal with everyone. The battling was immense. Everyone was going side by side, lap after lap. In the end, a P4 finish. How does that one feel for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, considering I hate this track and how much I usually struggle here, I'm really excited with the P4. And being able to play the right tire strategy for once, twice in a race. First to win the stage by I don't know how long, and then to be able to take the tires on the final pit stop, even though it was like 40 laps from the end. That was real scary at times when people started bouncing off each other in front of me and behind me, but thankfully they didn't crash. So held on for a P4. Excited about that, and team finishing 1, 3, 4 and back-to-back teams championship. So yeah, I'm really excited, and the race overall looked like it was amazing.
Yeah, it was great fun to commentate this. Just talk us through, what was your idea to pit so early in that first stint? Because I was expecting someone to pit early, but I was expecting maybe 20 laps, not about 35 or whatever it was that you pit early.
Yeah, I mean, I was expecting, we were just expecting people to pit early, especially Gunnarsson, since he had to gain points on Byfeld. I thought he's going to do some crazy strategy here to try and gain points. And then we got past halfway to the stage, and I was like, no one is pitting. What's going on? And then after a few more laps, I was like, well, if no one's going to pit, I might as well pit, because since no one's pitted yet, everyone's going to try and make it to the stage. So I'll just pit here and take a free stage win. And I pitted, a couple of guys pitted with me. I came out and I just pushed my tires till the end. And I don't know how far ahead I was at the stage, but I was confused that not more drivers were pitting early to try and get to stage. But I guess everyone just thought they needed all the tires for the end of the race. So I'm a bit confused, but I'm definitely not going to complain.
Yeah, it was an interesting one. But then when we got to the stage caution, we had a caution very quickly after that one. Did that change your plans at all?
Not the first caution, no, since I just put on new tires, but I only had one set left, so I needed to go green for quite a while, and then we had that caution with 40 laps to go. And, do I pit and take my last set, or do I stay out and hope that we have another caution in like 20 laps? but I thought, I mean, if we don't get another caution, I'm going to have to pit and I'm screwed. I'll be the least amount of screwed if I get it wrong by pitting now and taking tires and at least being on the lead lap for the end when all chaos breaks loose and everyone crashes out. But so thankfully I pitted and we didn't have another caution, so I was able to hold on till the end.
And lastly, instead of your driver cap, we'll put on your league admin cap. How are you feeling about having Bohlin's back for another season?
Yeah, it's great. It's without them, I'm not sure if there's even any point trying to get all the finances together for another season of this caliber. So them saying yes to come back is quite a relief, and it puts us in a good position to keep on building to secure all the finances for next year. So we're gonna take a week off here now and then gather up some of our longest serving members and some of our most active members and see what everyone wants to do, and we'll see what we come up with. But after running a league for 3 years, last Monday I think someone told me that you can actually add engine power to these cars up to 110%. So you can expect some something special to happen next season. Let's put it that way.
Okay, well, we look forward to that. I can't wait to see. Enjoy your break, Linus. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you next season.
Thank you, guys, and thank you for another amazing season.
No worries. It's a pleasure as always. But that wraps up this season here of Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan. In the end, it was Marcus Byfeld getting the championship, but he didn't win any of the final 4 races. It was a tough one to the end, but a second place finish secured the title here tonight. It was Alex Aronson in the end who was able to wrap up victory at Homestead, Miami. It's been myself, Cam Roger, Jake Sperry alongside me, and Lorenzo Bonda on the production of this RaceSpotTV broadcast. And until next season, some point in September, we wish you a very warm goodbye.